Hey everybody, welcome to the shortwave radio channel, and this is the review of the Retekess TR618 portable receiver. It's an AM FM shortwave receiver with MP3 playback capability, and this is it's actually on the seller page. It says that this is for the elderly. So I guess I'm old enough to enjoy this radio. So this is a pretty nice portable. It's actually a nice sized portable, and I kind of like it. I purchased it on the only, and I know that this is not the way to choose a radio, but I purchased it on the only fact that it looked kind of nice and it looked good in that I wanted to try it, and anyways I wanted to review it for the channel here also. So this is an analog radio on the scale, on the dial. So it has, that button, that needle that actually moves, and you have that button on the right, the famous tuning, and but inside it's not an analog radio. This is clearly DSP based radio. It's a DSP chip. It's probably the silicon integrated 473435 series that is running this radio inside, because the tuning sounds like a DSP radio tuning, not like an analog radio tuning. It's got a coverage of FM from 87 to 108 megahertz, AM or medium wave from 520 to 1710 for the expanded AM band, and shortwave is a little short. It's from 6 to 18 megahertz. If I my measuring of the frequency coverage goes from about 5800, so I'm able to actually tune to 5850 WRMI, all the way up to 18 megahertz or a little past 18 megahertz, but there's really nothing much there to tune around on a radio like this. It is nice sounding, a nice speaker that gives strong sound. If you are outside and you're looking for something that is powerful in the audio, this has powerful audio, I can tell you that. So this is really, really strong, and you'll hear it really well. The main features is, of course, it's simple to use. First of all, this button for the volume is also the on-off switch. So when you actually turn it on, this radio is now turned on. So it's an on-off switch in the volume control. It says fun, but it's for functions. It has USB. USB is for the MP3 playback. It's not a single sideband receiver. Just remember that. It's for the playback of anything on a USB flash drive, micro SD, or SD card. Works well on the SD card playback and all. It has radio, which is of course AM, FM, and shortwave, and it has at the top the band selection for shortwave, AM, and FM. What's nice also about this radio, there is an internal power supply. It comes with the cable to plug into the mains outlet, so you can plug in the radio. When I saw that, I kind of thought of, well, this would make a great kitchen radio. I just plug it in and leave it on when I'm gone, or if I want to listen to the radio. It doesn't use the batteries. So this is cool, and it's surprising because I thought, well, okay, this has a switching power supply, obviously, and it might be very noisy on shortwave and AM, FM. Actually, it's not. It's super quiet, and that is very nice also. So you just plug it in, but I still power it off of batteries if I use it to lower the noise level. It uses 3 D-sized battery, so I expect this to be very, very long in the battery life, because D batteries last forever, and this radio probably doesn't consume that much power. Although it says that the speaker at full volume is 3 watts, which is powerful for a portable receiver, especially today. Now, the tuning is analog. Here you have an LCD display, but that LCD display doesn't actually have frequency. It is only for the SD card or flash drive that you would put in, where it will tell you how many MP3 files are on it and the time that it's been playing. So you have, of course, the time of the file and all of that. It doesn't display frequencies, so don't expect this to show you the frequency you're tuned to. It doesn't work like that. Frequencies are a little difficult to tune because it's very tight in the display, but it is kind of nice and very, very stable, meaning you tune a frequency, you don't have to retune. It doesn't drift. And it's actually interesting because I tested it a few times and it works great. If you find a frequency and you tune to a frequency, 24 hours later you turn on the radio, you're smack on the frequency. You don't need to retune. The station you were listening to, if it's still there 24 hours later, you're having the same station again on shortwave. That is kind of cool because it makes it a little easier to tune. You don't have to always fiddle and retune to find the stations if you're listening in. The tuning is very weird because it's DSP based. It sounds weird, and I can give you an example here. I'll extend the antenna a little bit and show you guys one of the examples here. So when you put yourself on one of the bands and you tune around, what happens is it's like step tuning. I don't know if you guys heard a little bit of weirdness in that tuning. It's the way that DSP works. This radio actually probably tunes in 5 kilohertz increments. And what happens is that it is a hit or miss situation and it sounds weird. So it makes the tuning sometimes a little bizarre. It's not the best, and I don't necessarily like the tuning of this radio. So you see here how I have to fiddle back and forth to actually get the frequency and tune it correctly. It's not as easy as an analog radio would be because it's kind of step, so it's kind of weird tuning. But that said, it does have some sensitivity, some interesting sensitivity. It will get the stations you want to listen to as long as they have a minimum strength. It's not a DX machine. To give you an example, even though I did get it, it's a little hard, even when the signal is good, to receive Radio New Zealand on 13840. But the strong stations, they're all there, and they do come in, and it's a pleasant listening experience with the speaker that's in here, as you see. The weirdness also on shortwave is that when you fade in and out, it's not smooth. The automatic gain control of the DSP chip and the way that they designed it and made this radio is actually it drops, then it just fades out. It just cuts out at a certain point. And when the signal comes back, it fades back in at a certain level. It's not like an analog radio where it just fades and fades and fades until it's really in the noise and comes back. This actually fades out before it's in the noise. Technically, when I was actually using it on AM for some of the medium wave tests, my regular receivers would still continue receiving a weaker signal where this one would drop out on the fades. So it makes it not necessarily the best and more pleasant experience when you actually listen to it. But that said, it is okay on AM medium wave. It does work. It's sensitive enough, and I think it is a nice radio. If you are looking for something simple for somebody that might enjoy tuning around the shortwave bands a little bit, it is simple, and I understand why they call it a radio for the elder. Very simple use, very simple operation. No extra buttons or anything. It really just does a very simple job of like an old analog radio of the 80s. Like I said, sensitivity is not the best, so it's not a DX machine. A little bit of breakthrough of FM stations here, but not as bad as a lot of other radios I've got. So it's manageable and actually works. So imagine here in a very strong FM environment, it has a little bit of breakthrough, but not too much. That means for a lot of people, this radio will not have that problem. The medium wave works great, apart from the fact that when the fading gets a little low, it just drops the signal, but it gets, the medium wave stations at night that I want to listen to. FM is where it's kind of terrible. I usually deal with an FM radio by tuning in, for example, Vermont Public Radio station on 107.9. I'm unable to get it here because even with the antenna collapsed, the FM portion of this receiver is overloaded by all the strong FM stations of Montreal. So FM is kind of bad, and AM has the fade out weirdness. Shortwave is not super sensitive, but it gets the strong stations, and it is listenable. I mean, I've used it one evening, and I was able to listen to my favorite shortwave stations as long as the signal was at least at a fair to moderate level where it could pick it up. The MP3 playback is kind of fun. It's easy to use, and I actually have used it with downloading some programs like the MP3 file for World Radio and stuff like that I've listened on this radio. Works great. I mean, it's a nice little add-on. Sound quality is good. Misses a little bit of bass, but it is a good sound quality. Strong audio. It is nice to listen to. And even on shortwave and AM, it has that nice sound that is powerful and you want to listen to the radio when the signals are good. So that's pretty much what I have to say. It does have a jack on the side here for earphones that are not included in the box. Radio comes with simply the radio and the power cable for the mains electricity, and that's it. As for battery life, I don't know because I've just started using it a week ago, but I suspect that this is going to last forever on D batteries, like a lot of radios. So if you have any questions, anything you want to know I haven't talked about, let me know, and I'll answer the questions. So this was the quick review of the Retekess TR618, radio for the elderly, as they say. Portable receiver with MP3 playback.